All right, so I asked in my community tab the other day if you guys wanted a video on the McLaren 720, ownership costs, maintenance, and what I thought of it after this first season of driving it. I've compiled the information out of my receipts. We're gonna spend some time chopping that up. Let me get it uncovered so you can get a look at this bad boy. All right, so I mean, technically the car's stored for the winter. I thought I'd uncover it at least so you get an idea. It's about 5 degrees in my garage. So we are now coming into the winter months, at which point it is utterly pointless to drive this car. That's one of the downsides of living in Canada, unfortunately. All right, so rather than going through the receipts, I just summarized them here. Let's start with the maintenance costs of the car. There was some surprises, let's just say. I knew getting into a McLaren that it was going to be different from the German cars that I've owned in the past. If you followed my channel for a while, you know that the last exotic I had prior to this, and I just sold it in September, was a V10 manual R8, the Gen 1, which was, it was a very nice car, but it really sat in my garage for most of the summer, and I rarely drove it because this thing renders it obsolete. It's just a way better car in every way, and I'll explain why in this video, because I got some questions from people that wanted me to clarify. But let's deal with the cost of ownership part of this video, so the maintenance part. Bought the car in March of 2021. Within a week, on a drive with some friends, I had the air brake sensor warning go off on the dashboard. And if you're unfamiliar with the 720, the rear wing, you can see it there, it's kind of elevated right now. It'll tuck in flat when you're going fast, like you've got the pedal down to basically reduce drag, and it comes up when you're hard on braking. It normally sits in that position during most driving, and it wouldn't move. And I had an air brake sensor warning go off, and it said take it to the dealer. That cost me nothing, it was under warranty. It was a minor adjustment, just the inconvenience of driving it to the dealer. Driving it to the dealer, if I'm being honest, isn't a huge deal. It's not a small deal either. It's probably an hour and 30-minute convenience. So a 90-minute convenience out of my day getting down there, getting back. They're very pleasant to deal with. McLaren in Toronto is a fantastic dealership. They really take care of you. They understand, you know, the cars inside and out. They understand the frustration a lot of owners have, especially when they're driving cars like this instead of, you know, more reliable or less problematic cars. Keep in mind, this car is hand-built. It's not done through a mass production line with cookie cutter lasers and robots making everything perfect every single time. Each one of these cars has its own quirks and features, as Doug DeMuro might say. And that's part of the joy of the ownership, believe it or not. It's actually an interesting experience. And overall, again, it's been brilliant. I'll explain why towards the end. So there's air brake sensor, April 8th. April 26th, both my glass panels had to get replaced. The glass panels on these cars crack very, very easily. I'll take the camera off towards the end and I'll walk you around the car to show you a few of the flaws with the car. But it's supposed to be, this stuff here is supposed to be Gorilla Glass, and it's supposed to be quite strong. It's not. I'm not sure why they keep putting it on the car. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, I think on all the new McLarens after 2020 or so, somebody can correct me in the comments if they know better, they stopped offering the glass roof panels, and these are either offered in a solid dark plastic or in carbon fiber. Now, the glass panels, they want $18,000 to replace them. Because it was so close to the purchase date of the car, I asked them about options, and they said, well, you can either replace them with the carbon fiber ones, which are $40,000, crazy, right? Or you can put the plastic ones in, which I think were a total of $5,000 or $6,000, which I wasn't too keen on, because I don't think they look as good as a glass, and one of the reasons why I got the glass is to let more light in when I'm filming in the car. As you guys know, I do some videos in cars from time to time, and I wanted to make sure it had good lighting, which is what the glass panels do. And also, I don't think the black plastic would match the carbon fiber roof. Again, I'll walk you around the car with the camera towards the end. So I opted for replacing the glass. Now, instead of the 18 grand asking price, I wanted to replace both glass panels. I managed to negotiate them down, and they basically did it for cost. So the total cost for the panels was $14,795.41. Yes, I know that's the price of pretty much any used car on the market today. You can probably buy a Kia or a Honda or something like that for that price, but such is life when you get into a car like this. You kind of expect to spend some money. That was an unexpected expense that I didn't want to incur. But again, by the end of the summer, it was all totally worth it. Next maintenance cost was rear tires, which needed to get replaced August 11th. So I had a few months of problem-free driving, not having to go to the dealer. And in August, I had to take it back to get rear tires because I was going to do a rally to Quebec, and it was probably going to be about 1,500 kilometers, and I wanted to make sure I had good tread, so I just replaced them just to make sure, because it's rear drive, it's got 700 and something horsepower, and it will go through tires. It just does. You have to expect that with a car like that. So I replaced that at a cost of $2,221.67. Next maintenance item was a September 5th pre-track inspection, which was $450. Sorry, I got those numbers backward. It was $225. The pre-track inspection needed to be done when you book a track day with Pfaff McLaren, because the dealership is owned by Pfaff. Pfaff owns a whole bunch of dealerships. They facilitate some track days. And on the card on the top right, I'll show you some video from that actual track day where I scared the crap out of myself, so you can watch that if you haven't seen it. But you have to take it in for pre-track inspection. The reason why they do that is they want to make sure the car's safe before you drive it on a racetrack at or near its limits. You don't want to have a tire blow up because your alignment's off and you've got wear on the inside that you don't see. You don't want a suspension component that might be going or breaking to go on a racetrack and you're off into the rhubarb. So it's for safety reasons. It's not a big deal. I had no issues paying it, and the track day was totally worth it. It allowed me an opportunity to experience the car at and near its limits. The next expense was October 5th, which was a post-track inspection. And I also had an issue with the passenger door closing. It would indicate on the warning panel that the door wasn't closed when it was in fact closed. I learned from the dealer, due to the finicky nature of the car, you have to start the car before you close the door. So the pattern that ended up happening was my passenger would get in the car, close the door, and then I would start it because they were too anxious to get in the car and go for a drive or something, I would imagine. But what you're supposed to do is start the car, then close the door. It's got soft closed doors, so it's probably better for the car and better for whatever sequence the geeky programmers put in, but that's what the car is expecting. So if you close the door before the car started, it throws off a warning. Silly, I know, but that's it. There was another issue that I brought it in on October 5th with the post-track inspection, which there was a discovery on something else I'll talk about in a second, and that was $450 for that visit. There's an exhaust issue, which I'll show you again when I do the walk around in the car after I walk through these expenses, where one of the tailpipes, because there's two, sticks out a little bit more than the other. So, and I'll show you where there's a little bit of paint that's starting to suffer as a result of the heat when I walk the car. But anyway, that was not a significant issue apparently, because I looked at a bunch of cars in the showroom and some in the shop, and all the cars sold by McLaren in the 720 model line, which is a Super Series, the the driver's side exhaust pipe actually sticks out about ½ an inch more than the passenger side exhaust pipe. Why that happens, I don't know. I don't know if it's a design issue or it's a design flaw, but that's the car. It's hand built. You know, you're going to get that with hand built cars. So with the post-track inspection on October 5th, and generally you want to bring them back after the track day, so they want to check them before the track day and after the track day to see if anything is wrong with the car that might deem it unsafe. Some people might balk at that and say, oh my God, I can't believe you got to do that, man. You're dealing with a car that does like well into 300 kilometers an hour. That is a weapon. It really shouldn't be sold to just any idiot that has the money or can just drive it anywhere. It's my recommendation that you follow their recommendations for maintenance. You can choose not to. I happen to follow what they were saying. So I brought it in for a post-track inspection, along with the other issues with the door and the exhaust, which I just explained. And they discovered that the front passenger side tire was no longer aligned. I don't know if that was a result of that track day. I did another track day about a week after. So the first track day was a Mosport, which you'll see the card up on the top right for the video. You can watch that. There's another one I did about a week after at Cayuga, which is a totally different track. The surface is kind of shit. If anybody's driven there that's watching my video, they'll know exactly what I'm talking about. This isn't the best car to drive on a small track with a bumpy surface, but the front right tire was now misaligned and the wear on the inside was really bad. The belts, I don't know if they're steel or if they're Kevlar, but the belts were almost starting to show. So had I not brought it in, I wouldn't have discovered that problem, because I didn't feel anything off with the car. I didn't pull, I didn't notice anything with the car, but with machines like this, apparently that's how they go. So that's why you want to follow their recommendations. I brought it in for the post-track inspection. They caught the issue. I mean, I could have had a catastrophic blowout at high speed and, you know, boom, right? So it's better to follow their recommendations and make sure that you maintain it as it should be. That's the cost to pay to play with cars like this. So there was that, and then I had to bring it back after the tires came in because I had to get ordered. I don't think they were in stock, or maybe I had to go. I didn't have time to leave it that day. So I brought the car back about 10 days later for front tires and alignment. Front tires and alignment cost $2,541. Total cost for my first season driving on the car, including the glass panels, was $20,233.49. Had I not had the issue with the glass panels, my total cost would have been $5,438. The 20 grand I'm not stoked about. I would have been happier, you know, with an annual fee around $5,500, around that. I think that's more reasonable for cost of ownership, but I think it was, you know, it's odd that the glass panels broke. They're not covered by the warranty. There's an extended warranty on the car, which I bought when I got it. The car had, I think, 16,000 kilometers. It's a 2018. It's got about 10,000 more kilometers. The good news about the glass panels is, even though they've broken, and they're still broken right now, and I'll show you them in a second, I didn't bother to replace them right away because you have a 1-year warranty on the parts, on any part they put on the car that you pay for out of pocket. So these are technically warranted until next April the 8th, was it? No, April 26th was when I replaced these. So as long as I bring the car back to the dealer, then they'll replace them before the 26th for free, which is what I wanted to do, because I figured, why replace them after they broke under warranty when I can let the cars sit in the garage in storage, just replace them this spring and have brand new glass panels in. So those were the maintenance costs. Yeah, not cheap by any stretch of the imagination. I mean, for 20 grand, what can you buy? Comment below. I'm sure a lot of you guys right now are like, my car costs this, and and that's absurd, and it's such a waste of money, blah, 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 blah. Okay, I'm a car guy. I like car stuff. I like fast stuff. This is what I do. I've always done that. It's always been that way. It's not like this hurts me financially. You know, you have to look at things in perspective. Like if I was watching a video with a guy like Jeff Bezos talking about his new $70 million yacht breaking down, I'd be like, that's a lot of money for a boat. But you know, perspective, right? You know, like you understand what I'm saying. All right, I'll talk about some of the Q&A stuff in a minute. Let me just walk you around the car to show you some of the flaws and specifics. All right, so let's start with the glass roof panels, because you can see, let's see if you can see here with the lighting, you can see that crack. There's 1, there's 2, there's 3 here. You can hear the car buzzing because I just unlocked it. 4 over here, and 5 over here. I tried to put a PPF on here. I think you might be able to see it off the edge, a paint protection film, but that did nothing to prevent the cracking. I don't know if the cracking happens because of stone chips kind of like coming up here from speed, you know, when you're doing rallies and stuff like that. It doesn't look like it here. From what I understand, it's just stress cracking, and it's a design flaw. It's one of the downsides to this car, and I think that McLaren just got fed up with replacing panels during warranty issues, so they've just decided not to put them in the cars anymore, which is probably a good move. So there's that. I wanted to show you the exhaust as well, because that's just, I don't know, that's just how they built these cars. It just happens to be that way. I don't know. But you can see if I stand here and I look down, you can't see the exhaust. Yes, I know there's not a lot of clearance. It's a very tight garage for the car. You can see that there's almost no exhaust sticking out from here. If I just come down, you can see that this is the exhaust tip over here. This is the performance exhaust, so it's a little bit louder than the factory one, or sport exhaust, I think is what they call it. That's a little trim, which this spoiler kind of tucks onto when it closes down. And then that's the exhaust tip. But again, if you stand up here, you don't see it. If you stand over here and look at this exhaust tip, you can see that one sticks out. And as a result of it sticking out a little bit more, I don't know if you can see this in the video if it shows, but the paint right there just above my thumb is starting to suffer a little bit. But apparently that's all McLaren. So what are you going to do about that? A few things that I should also mention while I'm holding the camera and on the car is I compared, because some people asking me about the depreciation of the car, and I'll deal with a bunch of the other questions in a second, but they were asking me about the depreciation of the car. And the way this car is kitted, so this is a performance car, it's got loads of carbon. So to give you an example, headlight inserts are carbon, vents here are carbon, mirror caps are carbon, roof is carbon. I don't know what these things are called, but that's carbon. This is carbon, that's carbon. The rear, these things are carbon, the rear diffuser. So this car is fully loaded with carbon fiber. Even on the interior, if I were to compare it to the other comparables out there, there's even a lot of carbon on the inside around the dash. Even these vents here have carbon on them. But yeah, you get the general idea. You can also see some of the cracks here if you look through the glass that way. I know it's not super bright, but you get the idea. But I paid, I think it was $280 for this car when I got it. And comparables right now for similar cars with mileage are approximately $296 to $319. So if anything, I didn't lose any money in the car if I wanted to sell it right now. And it's the off season, it's the winter time. I could probably make money off this car if I were to sell it. So a lot of people complain that you lose money on exotic cars. That's not always true, depending on the car and the market. And in this current market and with this car, if I were to sell it right now, I would make some bank, a substantial amount in fact. So just keep that in mind. Even with the cost of ownership for the first year, even if I applied that to it, it would technically be a wash and I would essentially own the car for free. All right, so let's get to the Q&A portion of it because I do have some questions here people sent me. If you're not subscribed to the channel, subscribe, hit the notification bell, blah, blah, blah. There's a community tab where I posted this before I made the video to ask people for their feedback. So here's the questions from the community that watches on a regular basis. Red Dwarf says, winter storage costs and any special requirements. You can take the car to McLaren and have them store it for you. It's $450 a month for the winter time. I decided to do it myself. I've got the space in the garage, although as you can see it's a little tight, but it fits nonetheless. The requirements to store, what I do, some people do a little bit more, like they'll put the tires on either these they're like rocker holders that kind of coddle them so there's no flat spots. That's pretty standard with most guys that store cars, only this car is very light. It's mostly carbon fiber and aluminium for those in the UK. So it's quite light. It doesn't apply a lot of pressure on the tires. So what I did is I just overinflate the tires to about 41, 42 PSI. That keeps them nice and round. I'm not too worried about flat spots. I'll probably need new tires early spring anyway, so who cares? That's one thing people do. The other thing you gotta do is put stabilizer in the fuel, just so it doesn't accumulate any water or goes bad over the winter time, because it's gonna be stored for about 5 months or so here. 4.5 to 5.5 months, to get the idea. So it's fuel stabilizer. I also put on a battery tender. I don't know if you can see it on the wall over there. There's a little, it's barely showing, but there's a McLaren battery tender, which is a trickle charger. And all that does is that keeps battery charged and the computer happy. These cars get very unhappy. One of the big flaws for a lot of owners or people that might be interested in owning one is that you should know, if you don't drive it a lot, keep it on the trickle charger. Some guys will just drive it for a weekend and it'll sit for 2 weeks in the garage, and even though it says it might have like 2 weeks of charge or a week of charge on the battery, it's not good for the computer. The service advisors always tell me, if you're not driving it for a length of time, like for several days or a week straight, don't let it sit. Just plug it in. It's very easy to do. It's a little cigarette lighter thing. You pop the frunk, open it up, plug it in, done. It's not a big deal. So that's the other thing you got to do for storage. And of course, just clean it and cover it. Like I had the car completely cleaned before I stored it, so it's in pretty much tip-top shape right now. So that's what I do. Maintenance versus repairs. I covered that. There's been aside from tires, there's been no maintenance on the car. It's been repairs for finicky things, or because I took it on a racetrack, for example. So aside from tires, that's it. They're carbon ceramic brakes. I'm told they should last pretty much for the life of the car. I have a friend with a blue 720. If you follow me on Instagram, it's entrepreneurs_in_cars on Instagram, or you can just look up my name. You'll probably see some pictures and some videos from time to time, but my buddy Dom, he's got a blue one, it's Paris blue. I think he's got 55,000 kilometers on it. Mine's got about 26,000 on it right now. And his car it's totally fine. They're very, very reliable cars, mechanically speaking. Finicky things like, door sensors when you start the car and push the button, air brake sensors if something goes off for whatever reason. They can be finicky for just dumb shit like that. But mechanically, the engine and the transmission is very, very solid, very, very sound in fact. The only time people run into problems mechanically is when they do things like change the turbos, software tune, they change the downpipes and they bump it up. These things are capable of over 1,000 horsepower very, very easily with some reasonably cheap modifications. That's when you're gonna end up blowing a hole through the crankshaft or doing something stupid. In my view, this car doesn't need more power. What it needs is more grip. If anything, I would say if there's any modifications, because people ask me, I'd probably say wider tires and cup tires would probably be all that you'd want to do. Aside from that, it really needs nothing. It doesn't, in my view, need more power, it needs more grip. Because first, second, third gear, the traction control light pretty much comes on if you nail it, especially on a cold surface. This car is very, very fast. And there's a few questions here that are gonna have me deal with that, so I'll cross that bridge when I get it. Third question from Red Dwarf, is the hood strong enough to smash on? Look, this isn't Pornhub, it's YouTube. I'm going to keep it on the down low. What I'll say is that the body panels are mostly carbon fiber. I know there's some aluminum parts in the car, but it's mostly carbon fiber. The tub is definitely carbon fiber. It's a little bit fragile. It's not an F-150 pickup truck or a German car. I would definitely not do anything in that regard on the car. Just saying. In the car is a no-go. Unless you're a midget, you ain't doing anything on the inside. Ceramic Pro Louisville says, if you were considering another car from the 720, are you happy you made the decision, or would you have made a different one now? What's your favorite and least favorite thing about the car? So the first question is, am I happy? Yeah, I'm unhappy that the glass roof panels broke a few weeks after I got it and it cost me 14 grand. But overall, the car's worth it. Honestly, you've got to pay to play. I'm going to say it again. Stuff like this, handmade, high precision, like weaponry grade type of machinery that does the things that this can do. That's my thing. Other guys like art. Other guys like whatever. That's your thing. This happens to be my thing, and I enjoy it, and it's worth me paying the money for that enjoyment. I've always liked fast stuff. I always will. This is like for a 2018. So this is a 2018 model in their Super Series. If you put this up against any other 2018 car, stock for stock, in its price bracket, nothing touches it, not even close. Out of the box, if you put sticky cup tires on this or like our AAA tires on a drag strip, if you followed anybody that owns one of these, I think Brock from Drag Times got like 9s all day long on it. It was a sub 10-second car out of the box. These are very, very quick. What's your favorite and least favorite thing about it? Favorites, just the way it feels. It's so awesome. There's cars that are faster off the line. A buddy of mine has a 911 Turbo S. I think it's a 2018, and he has a tune on it, so it has about 700 horsepower as well. But off the line, his car blows me away. It is way faster off the line. He threw me the keys on the racetrack where we were at Cayuga, and it is a very quick car off the line. But once you're rolling, once you're over 60 kilometers an hour in this car, I wouldn't want to drive anything else. Nothing feels like this car. It feels amazing. Least favorite thing, having to go to dealership for stupid stuff. Oh, your air brake sensor isn't working, or it looks like the paint is starting to be compromised because of the exhaust tip position, because really, like, that's a manufacturing flaw or a design flaw or something. But at the same time, it's like, okay, well, that's the flaw, but it's also a hand-built car that feels incredible when you're driving it. You have to, you can't have it all at the same time. It is what it is. So there's that. So it's, it's the cost that you got to pay to enter it. One Man's Chorus says, what are aftermarket spare parts like, and do you take the vehicle to a specialized mechanic? I take the car to the dealer because it's under warranty, and that's what you should be doing when it's under warranty. I mean, if the engine blows, I don't know what they cost, the engine in these things. I would imagine it's quite a bit of money. Who knows, 50 grand, 100 grand, who knows? But I take it to the dealer for that reason. So the maintenance is covered by them. If there's any recommendations, then I deal with it. If it was an out of warranty car, then I'd probably find a specialized mechanic that has a lower hourly rate, but can still source parts. So there's that. As far as what are aftermarket spare parts like, I think you can get pretty much everything for this car. I mean, you want downpipes, you want bigger turbos, you want a software tune, you want to change the wheels. You don't need to do anything as far as brakes or suspension. I mean, this car's lowered, so let's see. As far as modifications go, so transparency, the car's lowered. It's on springs. It's lowered by maybe an inch, I think. It's not significant. Matthew says, how do you recommend obtaining these kinds of vehicles? Well, do the work. I think he's asking more about buying, financing, lease. So buy outright, finance, long-term cash delivery outlay, blah, blah, blah. So I had quite a few conversations with my accountant over several months on the best way to do it, because you've got buy, lease, finance, whatever. I ended up buying this straight out because that made the most sense under Canadian tax code. Before you buy something like this and you want to get some clarity on what the best way to go about it is, just talk to an accountant. That's my advice. Biking with Craig says, I'd be interested in hearing about how much you enjoy it compared to the R8. That's a good question. I'll put a card up on the top right. There's a video that I did where I basically call this a bitchy 10 and the R8 is a pleasant 7. That's basically what it boils down to. This is a bitchy 10. I mean, if you're dating women, you should understand the difference between a pleasant 7 and a bitchy 10. Most of the time, I would tell guys when it comes to women, I'd rather be with a pleasant 7. But when it comes to cars, if you have the money and if you've got the time and the resources and all that sort of stuff, if you want the best, hi, right here. It's going to be problematic, as I've already explained with my annual expenses. But that's what you got to do. So overall, that's how I would sum it up. The R8 was more analog, if I can put it that way, because it's got 3 pedals and a stick shift and the gated shifter. It was a great car. I love it. I was sad to see it go. In fact, my kid was just as sad to see it go, which was strange too. But went to a good owner. The owner became friends. So it's not like I'm never going to see it again. It went from one enthusiast to another enthusiast. It's gone to a good home, so let's put it that way. And when you have, there's some people that own a lot of supercars. I'm just not that kind of guy that wants to have that liability. I don't really even like having the liability of things holding me down here. So, getting rid of it made sense to me. You can take that money, you can invest it in digital assets and make way more. So as that goes, great car. I would still recommend an R8 V10 manual if you've got the means. I think they're still going to go up in value. They're great first or second, supercars. And they're a lot of fun, they really are. It's just, when you go from an R8 to this, it's like going from walking to going to a bicycle. Okay, it's that dramatic driving something like this, if that makes sense. Reef Keeper says, is the fit and finish truly worth the price, or is it just the name that you're paying for? So the fit, you don't buy a McLaren for fit and finish, let me say that. The fit and finish is not great. As I showed you, the tailpipe on one side sticks out more than the other side. On the driver's side of the car, because the gas tank would be around here on the driver's side, the alignment of the body panels around the gas tank, they're not good. Again, it's a hand-assembled car. On the hood over here, you won't see it from that angle because it is more accentuated on the other side. There's a little bit of a lip between the hood or the bonnet and the quarter panel, and that's just a fit and finish issue because, again, it's a handmade car. So this is not a fit and finish car. You want a fit and finish car, buy a Rolls Royce, buy something like that that's very high end, which has very, 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 very tight tolerances. Like they use robotic tolerance levels with lasers that are off the chart. If you want build quality like that, then that's what you want. You don't buy a McLaren for build quality. You're buying it for performance. This is F1 DNA, okay? If you watch Formula One, this engine is not specifically built by McLaren. I can't remember the name of the engine builder, but they have motorsport heritage. I think McLaren played a part in the design of the engine and the specs for what they wanted to go in the car. But the engine builder is a British motorsport engine builder, and the name of it totally escapes for the life of me. Somebody in the comments, just write down the name of the engine builder. I'm sure you know what it is. So he asked that value, to be fair. Then he says, I have a C8 Corvette and I love it. What makes the McLaren worth twice the price? So if you have a C8 Stingray, that's 1/3 the price of a 720S in the Canadian market. I haven't driven one, so I don't know what it's like. The C8 Z06, I really like. I want one. I don't know if I can get my hands on one. That might be a car that I replace the 720 for. It's naturally aspirated. It's, you know, you can really load it up with some awesome shit for less money than what this car would cost. And I would imagine it's probably close to just as good on the racetrack. I don't know how long I'm gonna keep this car, but I tip my hat to C8 Corvette owners. Chevy did a great job on that. I like all cars. I'm not a car snob. You know, some guys are like, F that, F this, and you know, maybe you know, when I was a kid hanging out with my friends, I'd be like, oh, you know, your Mustang sucks and my Chevy's better because I had a Camaro back then. Today, I like all cars. You know, I like anything that's engineered, that's mechanical, some better than others. This just happens to be my weapon of choice today. But would I say the McLaren's worth twice the price of a C8 Corvette? Yes, definitely twice the price of a C8. The C8 being 1/3 the price, the C8 sitting right here of this, I don't know. I'd have to drive one, so I can't really say. DC Ambition says, how does McLaren help you in terms of networking? Good question. Very good question. If you have a car like this and you join a supercar club, which I've been a member of for a few years now, you do have, like, it opens doors. So let me put it that way. If I showed up in a more entry-level mid-engine sports car, i.e. like a Porsche Cayman or a Spider or something like that, like a GT4 or like a Spider, they're gonna look at you a little bit different. Like, it just is, right? Like, somebody sees you in a 720, you know, you get in the car and you're like, hey, you know, you open it up and, you know, your passenger gets out and she's looking hot and you're getting out the other side. Like, you know, the visual of that, does it make a difference? Yeah, of course it does. Does it help with networking? Yes, absolutely. How much networking are you doing? Are you doing things with it? Like, if you buy a car like this to look at it in your garage, no, it's not going to help you with networking. If you buy a car like this and you put miles on it, and you drive it, and you hang out with other supercar guys, and you have dinners with them, and you do multi-day rallies, you know, you have drinks with them, you're hanging out, and you know, you're gassing up, and you're shooting the shit, having a coffee in the morning, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, of course it's going to help you with networking. Absolutely. You don't need a car like this to network at that level. You can network at that level with an R8. You can network at that level with a $100,000 sports car even. It's just, you know, you just have more clout than something like this. But I didn't buy it for networking. I bought it because I legitimately like fast, exotic cars that are like weapons on a racetrack. It just happens one of the byproducts that they're doing rallies are, it's good for networking too. What is the leech factor from women? That's from Johnny P. To be honest with you, cars like this don't attract women. Yeah, they look at it and they're going to recognize the success level that you bring to the table, like you have the social clout, the value sort of thing. But this thing's a dude magnet. It's a sausage magnet. I go to the gas station, dudes talk to me. I mean, from time to time, you'll see like a woman kind of look at you and she'll wink sort of thing, but it's mostly a dude. Like, this is a sausage magnet. Guys come up to you and talk to you all the time. It is what it is, you know. Women generally don't approach guys. They're not like, even in cars like this, if it was a Rolls Royce, they just generally don't approach guys. Fast cars, fast exotic cars specifically, mostly attract dudes. I mean, I've seen women walk by and they're like, oh wow, that's a gorgeous car, and they just leave a comment, they sort of walk sort of thing. That's the extent of it. There's no leech factor from women. That's a big myth that a lot of guys have. Leslie Rocher says, why did you opt for a McLaren over a Lambo? Good question. The Audi R8 that I had is based on the exact same platform as the Lamborghini Gallardo and Huracan. Okay, so it's essentially the same car. It's just different body panels. The Lambo has a lower roof line, more angular. It looks like somebody designed it with a ruler, whereas the R8 was a little more smoother and rounder, and, you know, just had that different look. Literally the same car. Like, why would I go from, it's like wearing this jacket to going to wear another jacket. It's still the same, like, it's still the same thing underneath, if you know what I'm saying. Aside from a Aventador, which in my view is a piece of shit, aside from, you know, the swing doors that go up like this, I've been on a racetrack with an Aventador in front of me, and it is a turtle compared to this car. So that's why I went for the McLaren. If you want a performance car that drives really, 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 really well, get the McLaren. If you want bling bling and you want people to look at you, like, I'll tell you, if you go to a car meet and you park this car beside a Lamborghini, more people will look at the Lambo. Just reality, because of the badge. Lambo, 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 you know, they just do. Most people look at this and they don't even know what it is, right? Like, I've been at stoplights and I've seen people, like, you know, behind me, and there's, like, you know, old ladies in their glasses, and they're looking at it and they're trying to figure out what it is, and they're like, you know what that is, Mildred? I don't know, Barb. And it's like, you know, most people don't know what it is. You park a Lambo somewhere, it's distinguishable by almost everybody. They know what it is. So long story short, you want a driver's car, get a McLaren. You want people to look at your shit, get a Lambo. Just in case 008 says, is it a heat score for cops? Surprisingly, no. But I'm gonna say this, there's a reason why I got it in Storm Gray, because it's more stealthy. It's got the dark wheels, it's got the darker paint. This car looks amazing in the daylight, by the way. If you wanna see pictures, go to my Instagram again. But it's like a metallic paint, and it just kind of changes color depending on the daylight. Like at nighttime in the dark, it almost looks black. In daylight, it's a lot brighter in like the gray color sort of spectrum, but it's a very stealthy color. I got it in this color for a reason. Whenever we're out doing drives with friends, the guys that get pulled over have the bright colored cars. The bright blue, the bright orange, the bright yellow, the Lambos, the Porsche GT3s. Those are the guys that get pulled over. So it's not a heat score for cops. I think if you buy any exotic car in a more subdued sort of stealthy color scheme, you're going to be picked off a lot less, if you know what I'm saying. Big Jack John says, why don't you get a proper sports car like a Lambo, Ferrari, or a Porsche? Okay. Oh, that hurts so bad. Yeah, I got the McLaren in my garage. I already dealt with the Lambo question. Ferrari, very, very simple. Do Ferraris have doors that do this? No. Do Ferraris, like, there's nothing in the Ferrari lineup in 2018 that would have compared with the McLaren 720. All Ferrari doors open out, unless you're talking Enzo, LaFerrari, then you're into $3 million for the car. So Ferrari, they're great cars. The other thing I don't like about Ferrari is, in my experience, whenever I've been to the dealer to talk to them, they're snobs, they treat you like shit. McLaren at least respects people that visit as buyers. The impression that I got from Ferrari is, they're like, get the hell out of here, right? It's like, I don't have time for that, okay? I'm gonna show up at the dealer like this. I'm not gonna wear my suit and tie and prance in. Like, this is how I roll, okay? So that's the impression I got from Ferrari, and Porsche was the other one. I like Porsches. A few of my friends have 911 Turbo S's with some tunes and some work done, and they're very fast. In fact, I'll be honest with you, a Porsche 911 Turbo S is probably the ultimate rally car because it's very reliable, it doesn't have any technical glitches. It's German made. It's built by robots for the most part, I think. Like even the windshield on my car, it's fragile. It has little freckles in it from tiny stone chips. You don't notice that with German cars. So that's a car for consideration if I'm going to keep doing rallies. Would be a 911 Turbo S with some work done to it so that it can keep up to this sort of performance level. It just doesn't feel the same. It doesn't, like, I've driven a 911 Turbo S on the track. You know, while this guy's poking fun and I get it tongue in cheek, like, why don't you get a real sports car? It's like, no, you haven't driven one of these. Maybe you can't afford to drive one of these or nobody will let you drive one. I don't know. But until you've been behind the wheel of one of these, you have no idea what you're talking about. You can't judge and say, get a real sports car like a Porsche. Porsche makes great cars, but this is why I got that. I already explained that. Anyway, I hope that offers some clarity on maintenance costs, some FAQs you guys threw at me. A little more insight around the car. This brings you back to the cars part of the Entrepreneurs in Cars channel. So yeah, like the video, leave a comment below, and let me know what you think. See you guys later. Peace out.